Live, good, okay. Welcome. Meeting for Shareholder Committee for Dorset. And I'll remind people to switch off your phones or put them on silent. First time you speak, introduce yourself, your role, name, etc. Only the first time, not every time. In which case we'll go on to the next, the agenda item, which is apologies. We have one, I believe.
Yes, apologies, Councillor Jill Taylor.
The minutes for the last meeting, which was on the 25th of June 2025. Any issues with accuracy? Committee? Nope. I'll sign them later. Item 3, any members, do they have any declarations of interest on agenda items? Nope, not seeing any hands. Item 4, public participation. There have been no questions received from members of the public. Item 5, questions from councillors. No questions received from councillors. Item 6, the forward plan. It's in the agenda pack. Any members wish to raise any points? Nope. Okay. Take that as read. So straight into item 7, which is the Dorset Council organisation or update, which will be presented by Sam.
Lovely. Thank you, Chair. So I'm Sam Paul, Corporate Director for Commissioning and Improvement at Dorset Council. I'm really pleased to be here in what's my first shareholder committee today, so thank you. Sorry. No problem. So the report you've got in front of you today is really an update on some key developments that have been led by Dorset Council in the commissioning space that directly impact or have been supported by Care Dorset. So hopefully I'll give a bit of context to the shareholder committee today. I'm not asking for any decisions from the report today, but to note progress that is contained within. So just going through the report, I'll bring it to life a little bit and then happy to take any questions that you've got at the end. So in terms of day services, we have now concluded that formal consultation on the future model for day opportunities. Once again, thank you to Care Dorset colleagues for their support in really making that a meaningful engagement, which was really important that happened. That consultation did generate hundreds of responses, petitions around Blandford and Ferndown, and we continue to review that feedback and looking therefore to bring revised proposals back to Cabinet in December. So paper will be coming through to Cabinet in December. Just to be clear, no decisions have been made yet in terms of the future. We continue to engage with different stakeholders, and that's really helping to refine that paper that does come forward. In terms of supported living, some real good progress in this area and some real strong outcomes that have been delivered. So the Weymouth Move On service has shown some promising early outcomes. There's been several young adults that have transitioned to independence, and Care Dorset have been really important in the delivery of that. And we're now having conversations and working with Care Dorset on a potential second site linked to that piece of work as well. And we've also been reviewing 2 other supported living settings that support particularly older adults with learning disabilities and complex needs. And that's really making sure that they're sustainable and person-centred. And we've had some real good open dialogue with Care Dorset in supporting those conversations to make that as successful as it can be. Just a couple of bits around conversations in the system-wide transformation. Reablement continues to be a particular focus within that area, and Care Dorset are very much in that space at the moment. So within that system conversation, there's a programme called Future Care. And that is really looking at bed-based intermediate care is one of the strands and taking a bit of a strategic review to support a neighbourhood model. And that's looking at improving short-term bed-based care that helps people to recover and regain independence by using that type of bed to the maximum potential. A number of those beds in the area are operated and supported by Care Dorset, so part of that wider conversation. Through that programme also a new reablement app has been developed, of which Care Dorset community reablement team are using. That app has got potential to set SMART goals, it tracks progress, and that ultimately can help improve caseload oversight and also outcomes. So hopefully Care Dorset staff are using that effectively and seeing the benefit of that. Care Dorset are also supporting other preventative models and initiatives that are in that space. They've informed a transition from some early work and a pilot around reablement at the front door coming forward, which is due to launch this month. And that is a real focus around the shift to early intervention and prevention. So putting support much earlier in a person's journey to prevent that further need, and therefore reducing that long-term demand on services. And all of that insight, operational insight from Care Dorset and Care Dorset's capacity is going to be critical in that success going forward. Just a couple other bits to pick out from the report. So the £500,000 targeted savings for this current financial year, so 25-26, around day services. Just to be clear, this is not part of the longer term transformation piece, with proposals due to come forward to Cabinet in November. So it's an in-year efficiency saving that is really focused specifically on operational improvements within day services. So thinking about how can you utilise resource better, streamlining some of the delivery models, etc. Not about reducing service quality or access to services. So just to be clear on that, that future piece around the future of day services, as I mentioned earlier, will be coming to Cabinet in December. In terms of Care Dorset, now operating from a much more stable financial position. They've supported their 5-year business plan, which is contained within Chris's report. And we continue to have open dialogue, working to identify any further efficiencies or reinvestment opportunities going forward, and also improving some data sharing and contract management arrangements that are currently in place. And we have had a couple of meetings around that and actively working together to work through some of those issues. And we're also planning a joint summit later this year that will really think about how we strengthen strategic alignment and partnership working between the council and Care Dorset. So I think that will be welcomed. So as I said, no immediate legal or financial decisions that are required today. We'll continue to work very closely with Care Dorset, making sure that we are making robust commissioning decisions that make sure we've got the right quality, sustainability and value for money going forward. So thank you, Chair. Happy to take any comments.
Questions? Richard?
Rich Biggs, Property Assets and Economic Growth. Just like to understand that the £500,000 saving that you're targeting, and sort of things are you looking at to make that savings, and perhaps wasn't that done previously? Is it, it's going to be any detrimental impact felt by anybody?
So the conversation around savings have been in the ether for a while. So in the original paper that went forward in terms of the business case for Care Dorset, identified a number of savings in a recurring basis, of which Care Dorset have successfully delivered some of those already. I wonder whether Chris Best, Managing Director of Care Dorset, might want to come in terms of how some of the savings have already been delivered effectively in day services so far against that 500,000.
Thanks. I'm Chris Best, Managing Director of Care Dorset. Yeah, so fundamentally we inherited an operational structure that was fairly heavy in the way that it was constructed. We've made, as individuals have left the organisation, we've delivered those savings. We've also been able to consolidate the way in which we're working. We have identified some other ways in which we can deliver that 500,000, and we need to have some conversations with the commissioners, because there are some impact to that beyond the day services. There's certainly some way to go in relation to the efficiencies that we need to make in day service provision, and part of that is also in the way that buildings are used and the rent that is paid on those as well. So it's an ongoing dialogue at the moment, but it's fundamentally about the efficiency that delivered through workforce changes.
Just a few comments. I think it's been really Steve Robertson, Adult Social Care, Upton, and the Travellers Wards. Thank you. So, I think it's been really nice to see Care Dorset in the last 18 months or so move from having to focus on its foundational work and getting the foundations right. And I think you'll have to report shortly, but it's nice to see moving into consistent, getting good from the CQC. That's been good, but now you're able to focus on the future as well. I was fortunate to go down and visit the young people in the supported living service in Weymouth, and that was fantastic. So nice to meet people you know, when you spend all your time looking at budgets. So that was really good, and an amazing committed staff team down there. So I would commend them highly. And on terms of future care, which you touched on briefly, Sam, that I'm speaking at an event next week that will widen the net for people who provide support within the community, and many voluntary sector organisations are coming along to that. So we're having moved from the foundations of future care, we're able to develop that further. So lots of really positive things, and we're seeing Care Dorset develop in a way that was originally envisaged, which is nice to see.
I just had a couple of, well, one's more a comment, I guess. I think it's not really, it's related to this, but it's about our consultation, which is going to come to cabinet. So I'm hoping that I'm not looking for an answer now, but I'm hoping there'll be more stuff in there about supporting integrated neighbourhood teams. You know, we've just been announced that we're a neighbourhood health implementation pilot area, co-locating services, making the buildings we own more sustainable, but you know, being a genuine asset to the community. So I'm sort of hoping that will be in there. I'm not looking for an answer now. And the other one was the Reablement app. Is that something we're producing, or is that NHS? Or we're doing it in-house, are we?
It's not in-house development, so it is through that Future Care programme. It's an app that has been used elsewhere by Newton, who are the support provider within that, and Care Dorset have been using it and have been trialing it. So.
Okay, it's very good. It's not operated by the clients or the residents. It's operated by the staff teams who agree priorities for getting better. We are one of the first to roll it out in Dorset, and it seems to have gone quite well.
Cool. Okay. Any other questions? No? In which case, thank you, Sam. For the next agenda item, so it's item number 8, which is the Care Dorset update. Chris or Caroline?
Thank you very much, Chair. I'll go first, as I usually do. I'm Caroline Tapster. I'm the Chair of Care Dorset, and just a little bit, as usual, around corporate governance, our foundations, as Steve has already mentioned. Just to let you know, you can see in paragraph 9, we've filed our accounts. We've got our annual confirmation status. All our information commissioner stuff is in good shape, as is data security. So we're keeping going on making sure we have the basics of good governance. And the really good news, we have appointed to our non-executive director role, who's leading on clinical issues. As you know, we are very keen to turn some of our registered care homes into registered nursing homes, because we know that's where the need is. And also with the increasing acuity of the people that we do have in some of our residential enablement beds, we felt it important that we strengthen our clinical leadership at board level. So Dr. Felix Davis is a registered practitioner psychologist. He's got a background in both the NHS, social care, and also independent organisations. He's a very interesting chap, and I know he's going to bring a huge amount to the board, and I think he's going to come along to one of these meetings in the near future, so you'll be able to meet him. So we're delighted that has brought our non-executive director team up. So we now have clinical, financial, legal, housing, and myself as a bit of a generalist sitting around the table, as well as our executive colleagues. So I think that has strengthened our governance and will help us in our aspirations to be focusing more on registered nursing home care and ensuring across the whole business that we have the right sort of assurance and clinical governance in place. Chris.
Thanks, Caroline. I'll just go through the report, drawing out some of the points mentioned there and provide a bit of an update since the paper was published. So in relation to 1.2, in terms of the occupation agreement, progress is now being made in the development and conclusion of that piece of work. And I met with Dorset Council officers last week to progress that. So we hope to be in a position where we can conclude that very shortly. In relation to workforce, particularly in drawing an update in 2.2. We have had some very helpful and engaging conversations with Health Science University colleagues who are very keen to work with Care Dorset to support their student population in terms of work placements and potentially develop a strategic relationship together, which is very positive, I think, for the system generally within Dorset. We are pleased with the progress that we've made in relation to levels of sickness across the workforce. Clearly, these improvements have a positive impact, not just on colleagues and our financial position, but as importantly, the people that we support to ensure consistency of their support teams. Financial position. So as noted in 3.1, there is a small operating loss, which has been impacted by higher than expected agency usage during the first half of the year, and also some additional costs in replacement and renewals of equipment and furniture, which we've been keen to invest in to ensure that the environments are as good as they can be in settings. We are on target and indeed did achieve the 40% reduction in agency that I indicated to shareholder that we achieved by 30th of September. That's been achieved through our partnership with Newland, who are a neutral vendor. So both the premium cost of agency have been managed, as well as the actual usage of agency, which together has contributed to that reduction in agency, and we hope to see that continue forward into the second half of the financial year. And we are making good progress, as referenced in 3.4, with our private self-funder market and to achieve the target that we've got set out in our business plan. Occupancy levels against the block funded residential beds are at 91%. Which is an increase from 5% from the previously reported position set out here, and our reopenment beds are consistent with previously reported positions of 82%. We've concluded the restructure of operations to strengthen both quality delivery as well as our customer experience as well, so the people we support and their families as well, through the appointment of our new head of customer experience, who joined Care Dorset today. Moving on then to the annual business plan that was approved by shareholder on the 14th of April of this year. Progress has been made across all of the 6 areas. Some have been impacted by other external factors, such as the work we've been doing through the transforming care piece that Sam alluded to earlier, which has meant that some of the work that we indicated, particularly around our building at Castle and has been delayed whilst we've been working through the future of bed-based reablement. Just in terms of Castle and Plus, which is where the dominant area of our bed-based reablement happens, we have now added our therapy offer. So we have an occupational therapist in post on a consultancy basis while we wait for the permanent occupational therapist to join. And we've also made some improvements and making some improvements to the building as well to improve and enhance that offer. So we will have a therapy suite as well as a wellbeing suite in the building as well, which I took Sam around last week. And then finally, before I invite any questions, just wanted to bring out some external recognition that Care Dorset's pleased to have. So talking about the Dorchester Road site, the transition service for younger adults that was mentioned in Sam's agenda item, we have been nominated for an award for Best Ambassador by one of our senior support colleagues there, which we're very pleased to have that nomination. And we've also been nominated in 3 categories at the Great British Care Awards, Those categories are the care home activity organiser, the ancillary worker award, and the housing and care as well. So the event is in November, and then the winners of that go on to a national award as well. But pleased that we've been nominated, no less, for those. So, Chair.
Thank you, Chris. Questions? Richard, you first.
Looking at 3.2, when you talk about the agency cost reduction target, you can explain to me what you mean by the neutral agency provider. I'm not quite sure. Does that mean somebody who's detached from the direct recruiting of agency staff who's advising, or something else? Not quite sure.
Yeah, of course. And apologies, Councillor, I should have covered that in a bit more detail. So a neutral vendor arrangement means that rather than individual organisations having individual arrangements with individual agencies, the neutral vendor has the arrangement with the different agencies. And then when there is an agency need, they the care team and the management team will go to the neutral vendor who will book the agency, rather than having to go around different agencies, individual agencies. And because they have those contractual arrangements with those individual agencies, they can drive improvements in the cost of those agencies, moreover than we might have as a single organisation.
So there's a change in the quality of the service. It's just purely on the negotiated price.
That's right. Yeah, and a time efficiency in that the management and care coordination team just need to go to a single point for that booking. What Nuvan has also been able to provide is an oversight dashboard, so that both finance teams and operational teams can see the agency shifts that are being requested, so that we can do some trend analysis and identify where there are common issues in our rostering, and resolve that internally, so there's less need for that agency usage over time.
Jason?
Hi, Councillor Ben Wilson. What is your projected year-end financial position for both cost and forecast revenue, given that there's an overspend and an under budget revenue?
Thank you for your question, Councillor. And some of this is a little bit up in the air at the moment, because I've asked our finance director to do some reforecasting of the year following some discussions that we've been having with commissioners. But we're hopeful to be in a break-even position at the end of our financial year. Of course, we've had a slightly extended financial year as a result of beginning to align to the fiscal year as is commonly experienced and is consistent with Dorset Council. So we're council financial year. So we're expecting a break-even position. So if I may, I might provide an answer after this meeting, simply because say my finance director is just doing some reprofiling, and we're having some discussions with commissioners about the second half of the year's contractual price.
Yeah, that would be good to understand. So yeah, I'm happy with that. If you don't break even, where does the additional funding come from? Not as my intimate knowledge of your accounts is a bit sketchy, so I can't remember what reserves you hold.
We don't have any reserves currently, so it would be a pressure for the shareholder.
Right. Okay. Yeah. So in which case it would be useful to understand that updated position.
Yes.
Yeah.
Any other questions, Dave?
Nicely put, like that. Pressure on the shareholder. Two questions, I think, for me. First of all, item 1.1, we've had conversation outside the meeting on this, but just because it's in the report, I think it's useful to record it. The issues around remedial works required to affect effective buildings. I just wonder if you could update us that that's been completed.
Yeah, so there were some immediate issues in relation to the boilers that were referenced in 1.3. So the boilers at the particular home have been repaired and replaced. We are still waiting for a few parts to improve the efficiency of the boilers in terms of pressure and calcium build up. The fire door works at the day service buildings is on hold at the moment. So the work hasn't been progressed on that. That's part of the conversation that we're having with our property colleagues as well, in terms of the progression of that work, and we've got mitigating and risk assessments in place to manage the ongoing. But the immediate risks and issues that I referenced in my report, particularly paragraph 1.3, have been resolved.
Okay, but just to clarify, there's no increased risk to within the data centres due to fire issues not being resolved?
There is obviously a risk that exists in terms of having defective fire doors, and we've put in place revised risk assessments to manage that. So in terms of the staffing that's on shift,
So there's mitigation in place to offset that. So no one in the building is actually at increased risk because mitigations are in place.
That's an accurate.
As the shareholder, has the working capital been transferred yet, or is it not?
We have a working capital loan arrangement in place that's been agreed with Sean and his finance colleagues, and a criteria been put in place as to when that money is drawn down, with the agreed interest arrangements that would alongside the repayment of any such loan.
Thank you very much.
So I had a few questions, if I may go. So 1.1 and 1.3. Do we as shareholders need to be concerned that Dorset Council isn't responding to you? I.e., do you need me and the other members of the committee to start prodding various people to make things happen?
Thank you, Chair. No, not at this stage. I think it's certainly incumbent on me that I raise with you as the shareholder the risks that exist around the organisation. But I'm confident that the conversations that I'm having and my colleagues are having with our council officers are progressing issues, and certainly thanks to Sam and John, as well as Jess and Jan. Chair.
The other one was on the occupancy, so 91% and 82% reablement. How does that compare with the sector? Is that, if you benchmark against other providers?
Yeah, so in terms of long-term residential beds, most organisations, particularly private organisations, would expect to run occupancy to the late 80s to mid 90s. So we're in that ballpark. Some of our without getting too complicated, some of our beds are used for sort of short-term, whilst individuals are being assessed for ongoing needs. So we tend to have them in for a couple of months, which contributes to the occupancy being less than sort of 95%, which is where we'd like to be ultimately. On the bed-based occupancy, that's benchmarks well against national levels, Chair. There have been some challenges with long-term days in those beds, whilst some of the social care and ongoing needs at home have had to be resolved, which has brought that number down. But I would expect us to be between 80 and 85, but ideally closer to 85 than 80.
I guess my final question is probably because I don't understand this at all. So a 270k variance partly driven by higher than expected agency costs, yet you've hit your 40% agency cost reduction. It doesn't make any sense to me. So you've either spent more, and how did you hit your target? So if you could elaborate more.
Yes, of course. So the variance budget is based on the budget we set back in October. Our improved performances against our reforecast position, okay. Which is where the two numbers are. I'll be clearer on that in the future.
Trying to square this.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Apologies.
That's okay. Anything else? No? Thank you for your report. The next item is urgent business. There isn't any, and there's no exec business. So, yes, we can close the meeting. And thank you all for attending.